Oh, hello. All right. Okay,
Ah,
everyone. So I'd like to start off by thanking everyone for getting up this morning, coming for a cup of coffee. When you get here, give us a wave, give us a hello, leave a comment. Where are you guys from? So this is really exciting as we're able to be connecting with everybody around the world. And I'd love to hear where you guys are from. And let's make this as interactive as we can through this coffee time. So, for me, I enjoy getting together with coffee and getting together for conversation. I feel that conversation is something that has been lacking, especially with COVID, of being able to actually get together, go to coffee shop, share what we're doing, how we're feeling. And so I thought this would be a really good opportunity for us to come together. So welcome, Laura Isabel. I'm really excited. As Laura Isabel, we met during our hardcore leadership course. Now, with this hardcore leadership course, it really expanded my mind. Like, I live in a small rural community of 500 people, no, maybe 1,000 people, sorry. And so living in this small community, then yet going into a leadership course, going on Zoom, and you have 110 people from all around the world, it really just collapses your perception of the world, of how we can connect, and any limitations. And so as I got to get to know Laura Isabel through this program, and just she would open up, you get her presence and you just melt. Her smile just opens you, and the vulnerability. So as she would share with me around the loss of her dad when she was young, and the journey of finding happiness through the grieving process really resonated with me, as I was young when I lost my dad. And yet she inspired. How do you keep happy with all this stuff going on? So whether it was a loss of a family member or just the chaos of life, there are so many things that go on that can limit us from actually getting in touch with our happiness and connecting with that. So welcome, Laura and Isabel. Thank you for coming and joining us for coffee around the world. And yeah, so welcome. I'd like to hear a little bit about you. Do you want to share yourself with us?
of course, and thank you for having me. Of course, really appreciate you having me on here. And yeah, like you were saying, a little bit about me. So this whole journey of happiness kind of started back when I lost my dad. I mean, I had lost people before that. I lost my brother. I lost a few family members, my grandma who took care of me. But my dad was definitely the biggest um, transformer for this. And the reason why, I mean, I was really young when my brother died. So I saw the whole chaos in my family. I saw the pain, I saw that stuff going on. But I didn't really get to feel in the emotion as much as my dad. I was a total daddy's girl, to the point where I was like, there was like two chairs and I would be sitting on my dad's lap. And I'm not talking about like 5-year-olds sitting on dad's lap. I'm like talking about like 15 years old on my dad's lap. My brother's like, there's a chair there. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I got it. Thanks. So I was a total daddy's girl. And I remember one day I was at school and I was getting out of practice. And I was with my friends getting out of practice, or going into practice, I think it was, sorry, going into practice. And I got a phone call from my mom, and she's like, okay, so your dad is in the hospital. We're going to pick you up, get your stuff ready, and go outside. And she said this very neutral. She didn't really have much tone to it. But for some reason, I heard this and I hung up the phone and I fell to my knees and I just started sobbing and sobbing. And I remember my best friend at the time was there, and she's like, Laura, get up. What's going on? And I tell her everything that's going on. My dad's in the hospital. And she said, don't worry, it's gonna be okay. And I looked at her and I said, he's dead. He's done. And of course, at this point, my mom didn't tell me this. She was very neutral on the phone. She was trying to stay really relaxed. But for some reason, I felt this, like this, just my whole world just collapsed in front of me. And I don't know why, it just did. And of course, it ended up being that my thoughts were correct. As soon as I got there, I found out that he had passed. So something gave me that feeling in that conversation with my mom. And for the days to come, at first I was very numb. Like I didn't know, I honestly thought I couldn't grasp the concept that my dad was gone. I remember at his funeral, I was sitting at his funeral and my brother-in-law came in and I saw his hand, and it's like this thick man's hands with the bracelet and the ring. And I just jumped and my dad's here. And my sister looks at me and I'm like, he's not here. That's not my dad. And this happened to me a lot for the first like 2, 3 weeks. I don't know why. I would get out of bed screaming like, oh, dad's home. And I'm like, what am I saying? There's no one coming. No one's going up that stairs, you know? And um, it took me a while. And after that transition, I kind of started hiding. I kind of got to the point where I would not want to tell anybody what happened. I think I had a fear of, I felt like I was unsafe. My dad was like my safety blanket. I knew he could rescue me no matter what happens. He didn't have to know about it, but he was going to rescue me there. And he was gone and I kind of felt like too open, too vulnerable, too weak right now, you know? So I wouldn't share anything about him. I'd hide. I remember having friends come over and they're like, I never see your dad. Where is he? I'm like, oh, he works a lot. Like, he just he's always working, you know? So I never really wanted to share anything about him. It felt too real. And I hid him and I kept on with life like nothing happened. Like I would still go out with friends. I was never home. I couldn't be home. I tried not to feel anything. And I would just go on with life like normal. And about like 4 years later, um, I was out with my friends. We were in like a park. I was like in the parking lot of like a big park, and they were all having fun. They were dancing, they were singing, and I was there and I was watching them. And yeah, I was laughing, but I realized as much as I'm in this moment right now and I see everything that's going on, I don't feel anything. I'm not happy. I'm not sad. I'm nowhere right now. I'm like completely numb. I didn't have any motivation. I didn't want to go to college anymore. And I was like a straight A. I had to be perfect in school and I had no motivation. The only reason I was still in school was because I couldn't let down my mom because I couldn't put more on her than she already had. Um, so I didn't have anything. Like I felt like I was just like letting time pass and I wasn't living life at all. And I realized that that night I was like, everyone's having fun, everyone's laughing, and I'm just here like looking, and I just don't care. Like I'm not there. I just wanted to get out of the house. That's all I wanted. And I'm just there. And I was having a conversation with one of my friends who came up to me that day, and I was letting her know that. And it just hit me, and I was like, holy crap, I'm not getting anywhere. Like I'm nowhere further than where I started. And that was what kind of like started my transformation. It started making me think like I really need to figure this out because I have way too much life ahead of me to be living all my years just like in total numbness. Again, with so much happening around me, yet not being excited about one thing. So that's what really got me into finding that happiness and seeing how I can return to that because I was a really happy little girl, I must admit.
And you
And
can
I
certainly tell with your smile, what you're doing is working.
Thanks. So yeah, so that definitely got me into it and got me exploring a little bit about it and trying to get back to that little girl that would laugh all the time and did not have a care in the world because everything was just so good. And it really led me to search what it was that made me so happy before that now I did not have except my father, of course. So I definitely had to go searching for those tools to figure that out.
And that's a great tool right now. Like for all of us, just think about, the little girl who's happy and maybe it was hopscotch or whatever it was. What did you do as a kid that was fun and playful? So when you have an answer, put it in the comment. What did you do? What was something that was fun, that made you laugh, made you giggle, that, filled you up? I'd love to hear it. Put it in the comments. Even if you're catching the replay, let us know you're catching the replay and let's keep this conversation going.
And
So,
Asha, while they do write in those comments, what is something that made you laugh as a little girl?
um, what made me laugh? I was always really athletic. So I think it was always like playing sports and things like that was a lot of my fun. Um, Painting rocks. Like we lived on a farm down a gravel road. And as silly as it is, I would walk the gravel road and pick shiny rocks. And so, I'd go home and I'd wash them all up or I'd paint them. And then on Sundays, every Sunday, we'd have like a family supper and I would sell the rocks to my Bob and my grandma, the family that would come. So that was always something I always remember. And it was always funny. I think everyone laughed thinking she just went down the gravel road. She washed the rocks. And now she's making money. to do that.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
but sports was always something that I was always involved in that would bring a lot of joy, hanging out with the girls and things like that. So yeah. How about you? What was one thing that brought you joy as a child, as a kid?
Oh, for me, it's something that still brings me joy, honestly. It's music. No matter
Ah,
what it is, like, oh, I hear music and my spirits just, I start dancing. I'll be in the middle of Publix or in the middle of a supermarket or in the mall and I'll be dancing and singing like no one's there, like in my own concert. My sister would be like, "Shh, you're embarrassing me. Everyone's looking at you." I'm like, yeah. And I'll be dancing everywhere. That's just
nice.
my, oh yeah, happiness there.
Yeah, music is a good one. Yeah, I agree. So when you shared your story, hearing you just knew, your mom had called and you just had this feeling and you knew that your dad had passed. That's something I did. It was about probably 3 or 4 years. I had a vivid dream, and it was amazing how what I noticed through that journey was shutting that down or like ignoring that feeling. So it was like almost like I was scared to know what I knew. And so, anyone listening to this, let us know. Can you relate? Have you ever had a gut feeling where you knew something, but you maybe ignored it or you didn't really want to do that? So I feel like some of the part of what you're sharing is, just trusting those gut feelings too of, knowing what it is, no matter the depth of it, that keeps us open and vulnerable is that channel of knowing and hearing. But yet then that how it get masked, my feeling is when I hear that numbness came over and it was like just shutting that down and doing that. I know when my dad had passed, I moved to 2 provinces away where nobody knew, and so I was a master coper for about 2 years. Nobody knew. I didn't say anything. I kept it a secret. And I know in life we do this naturally. Like, what are our struggles? How do we cope? What are you locking in? So as we listen to this, I hope you make it interactive with yourself, of your own internal reflection, because what is it? What are we hiding? And then numbing. So do you want to talk a little bit about numbing, or what are some tips or tools to help transition maybe through that hiding or the numbing, or that hiding within ourselves that isn't really serving? Or in your own words, maybe that was my own interpretation. How and what did you do to shift out of that numbing?
The first thing I really had to do, honestly, was accept it. So I had to really accept what happened. And the only way I can fully accept it was by sharing it. So I had to really stop lying about everything. It wasn't, my dad was not at work. Um, Everything was not okay. And I had to talk in order to do that because I kind of pushed everybody that would ask me, like, for example, my family, I kind of pushed them away on that. I shut down talking about that. So I think the first thing is really accepting it, accepting what's going on around you, accepting that there's a situation that's pretty difficult and it's in front of you, and just being able to openly share it. A lot of times we want to hide behind it, and that's where the ignoring it or the numbing or the shutting down comes from. So if we openly share it, we can get sooner to that acceptance phase. So I think it's about really just, if it's one thing, one little tip that you take to not get numb is share it, share it, share it. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it, even if it's just to a best friend, even if it's to everyone, whatever it might feel comfortable to you at the moment. But definitely share it. Don't just keep it in, and don't
So
lie about
that's a good one. So share. So I challenge anyone listening to this to stretch yourself to vulnerability. Today, take a look. What is one thing you've been hiding, or you haven't really communicated, or haven't shared? What are you hiding from? And just share it. So whether you share it in the comments below, or whether you reach out to one of us independently, or you just talk to your spouse or family or friend, I invite you just to create that momentum of sharing and
it.
getting
Yeah,
honest. Go ahead. Yeah.
definitely. And a lot of times people don't want to share because um, they're either scared of what someone might think. Like, for example, mine was a safety thing. I'm scared that I'm going to be the weak one. So people now have a target to me. There was a way I'm a target. So there's always something behind it. But a lot of times that's all in our mind, and that's really not how it's perceived. And on the contrary, you usually find more people out there giving you comfort than giving you reason as to believe why you shouldn't share it. So you'll be surprised with when you actually start sharing how good it actually feels to actually share it and find those people that are there to comfort you and are wanting to help you. And it happens. You just really need to start, and it's hard. It's really hard taking that first step to share and say what's going on and what you're feeling. But when you start to do it and you see how good it actually starts feeling and how productive it can actually be, it gets easier. It really does get easier.
Nice. Even if it's just share to write it down. I think sometimes my first start is always just, okay, let me just wrap my head around this, and I journal it or writing a letter or whatever it is. So the written word or just writing it down
Yeah.
could be the first layer. But of course, there is a lot about using your voice and actually communicating and letting that out for your own personal expression. Yeah. So I'd like to hear a little bit more. So I know you have discovered a course, the 6 layers of finding happiness. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you've created in this course?
Yes, of course. So we're always looking for this inner happiness, right? We're always seeing what's going on. How can we be happy? And a lot of times we have this idea that when we get something, we'll become happy, or when we do something, we'll be happy. Even if it's something like, I know a lot of people say not materialistic, but even things such as experiences, such as vacations, let's say. And those are awesome and they do get you really happy. And it's great to have these experiences, these moments, these memories. But that's very short term because it gets to a point where it does become a bit normal. For example, I know a lot of people say, um, when I get a raise in my job, I'll really love what I do because then I'll feel appreciated. I'll feel like it's worth it. And we get that raise, and it actually only takes about a month till you start normalizing those feelings. So once that month's over, it's basically like, well, now if I get another raise, or if they change what my tasks a little bit, because now you're feeling like they raised my pay, but I deserve more, or it's always something there, right? So we try to shift this and try to find happiness within. So even if you have that vacation, that's going to be even better for you. But if you're not, you're still happy. And this really helps us when we have happiness from within. It really helps us in every situation because it's not just about being happy. Because the truth is that there's always going to be something that goes on in life. Life is never perfect. There's always something. Life is not 100% happy all the time, and that's not what this means. This does not mean that being happy within you are going to be 100% happy all the time, and things are going to go perfect, and nothing's going to go wrong, and your life is just going to be fairy tale wonderful. That's not what it means. But it does mean that you have that inner happiness, that inner peace where you can come back to yourself, and it actually helps you get through your situations. So yes, things go on, but this little corner of peace within you, this little corner of happiness within you, gives you the strength and the motivation and the energy to keep pushing because you know things are going to get better, right? And to get that inner happiness, it's a bit of a process because we have a lot of things that we um, get implanted in ourselves from our past, and there's a lot of things that we get implanted ourselves from our exterior, not just from the past, but it can be current and it can be from the exterior, from other people, things that happen, experiences that happen. And then there's things that we put on ourselves, things that are from inside of us. Some things come from when we are born. It's just how we grew up, or we put them down there ourselves. But all these little behaviors and all these little habits and all these ways of thinking, they can be changed. And the way we do that is we go through 6 layers. 3 are exterior. One is basically the current. It's like a choosing point between the past and the future and the now. And then the other 3 are more within you, things that you yourself already carry. And again, these are things that we can change. It does take work. It does take a lot of effort, but there are things that we can change to have you in a more positive light so that you are able to find that happiness within. So no matter what goes on around you, what situation occurs, you are able to get through it by finding that little peace and happiness inside of you to use that motivation and energy to keep going forward. So that's basically what it is. We discover those 6 layers and we actually peel each of them back to really dig into them and change any little habits or behaviors that they have going on through them. And we actually focus on them so that we can get through it and find that inner happiness and make all those little shifts that we'd like to make.
Awesome. Nice. I so love the how you're learning strategies and actually acknowledging, hey, yeah, our external environment does influence how we think and feel, but also the inside job. So I absolutely love the integration and the awareness of the inside, outside, but also knowing we're responsible and learning strategies to find that happy space. And it is so true because life always happens. It's never going to be 100% joy all the time. So that's also something to recognize when I hear you say is knowing that is okay. It's okay when we're having a bad day. That's normal. We have all of the emotions that are normal, but how are strategies to get us to shift those emotions, to create that happiness and the strategy to explore them. And so awesome. I want to just thank you, Laura Isabel, for coming and sharing yourself, your story, and these tidbits. So hopefully everyone watching here, what is a takeaway? Let us know. What is something that you were able to take away today, to integrate, put into your life, into action today? Sunday is a good day. Any day is a good day, but really we're starting the week off. What does that look like? Now, if you are feeling and can relate to feeling that numb, shutting down, seeking that happiness, or just wanting a community to have that support to start opening up and getting into that stage of acceptance by sharing, then Laura Isabel has a one tomorrow. She's doing her 6 layers to finding happiness tomorrow. So if you guys are interested in a free workshop, the link is going to be, I'm going to put it in the comments right now, in the comments here, but it will also be in the text. So once we're done this, I will put it in the text above and you guys will have access to that. So please, reach out, don't isolate yourself. We are all here to create this conversation, to create the community, to really empower people to find that happiness inside. And so thank you, Laura Isabel. Your smile says it all. The joy that you have in your way of being is contagious. And I welcome everybody to join us and join Laura Isabel tomorrow. Click the link for the free 1-hour workshop. And let's create a ripple. Let's create the momentum of finding that happiness within and sharing it with anyone. So also today, if you're listening to this and you're like, geez, I got some value, somebody who would like it, share this. Let's spread it around, create the momentum, share, and register. So thank you everybody for coming out today. Is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap it up?
No, just definitely go out to the webinar. It's tomorrow, like Les just said, it's tomorrow at 8 p.m. EST. So I believe that's 7 p.m. your time, Central Time.
We're an hour earlier.
Yeah, exactly. 7 p.m. for Central Time, 8 p.m. EST. And definitely join us. We're going to be seeing some challenges as well, challenges that we all face, some more than others. But they're really common challenges that you wouldn't even notice, but they are affecting the happiness. And remember that just feel your feelings. I mean, Lasha was with me in the last 2 days, the last 3 days, sorry. And she saw me literally break down. And people usually think life is perfect, life is great for me. And it's not, it's really not. There's really times that you just break down and you just need to feel those feelings and know that there's ways to continue forward. But definitely join me in the webinar tomorrow so I can show you some of those tactics as well. And I look forward to seeing you guys there.
Awesome. Wishing everybody a fun-filled Sunday. Hopefully to take one thing today. I always like to leave people on a note of what's one thing you can do to nurture you today. So tune in. What can you do? But as a little child, as we sum up from the start, what brought you joy? Whether it's making hopscotch down your sidewalk or whatever it was, reminisce a memory, integrate that into your day, and we'll be in touch, everyone. Thanks for everyone for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.